All right, Zig coming in on the top. Today on the show, we have the return of the great John Leon, guitarist extraordinaire, who has recently been using his guitar skills in his latest project, the Royal Arctic Institute. We talked to John about a year ago about their first album, From Catnap To Coma, and now the sequel is out, From Coma To Catharsis. I love talking to John. He's such a cool guy. Anywho, we're going to listen to a track off the new record. This is a K-Style Circuit. Coma To Catharsis, the Royal Arctic Institute. The track was K-Style Circuit. Beautiful stuff, great guitar work, excellent orchestration. Definitely recommend you guys go hear the rest of this record. It's available now on all streaming platforms. Keep an eye out. The Royal Arctic Institute is hitting the road in February. Go to the medias, the Royal Arctic Institute medias for the dates. And before we get into it, if you can like, rate, review, subscribe to the podcast on one of the podcast platforms, it helps me keep talking to amazing guests like John and sharing their insights with you. So without further ado, here's my chat with John Leon.
Dave, hi.
Hey, man, good to hear from you.
Oh, my God, it's so good to hear your voice. How's it going?
Oh, not bad, not bad. Just wrapping up the end of the year over here, and it's been crazy. I'm sure it's been crazy for you, my friend.
Oh, my God. Yeah, it's been crazy.
But
yeah. Are we recording?
Oh, yeah.
Well, it's funny because I was just sitting here listening to DIYs and open mics.
Thanks, man.
It's so good. It's so good. Yeah.
Oh, man, that means a lot coming from you. That means a lot coming from you, my friend. Thank you.
So last time you and I spoke, this is sort of a warning to you and to your listeners. Last time you and I spoke, I had corona or COVID. I was sick. Well, this time I have a raging sinus infection, so I'm going to try to keep all of my snorts and coughs at a minimum.
Well, appreciated, but man, I'm sorry. You know,
it's all right.
It didn't hit, like, I think everyone at this time has got that kind of like that sinus thing or that nasal drip, you know.
It is. And you know what I think it is? I think that it's an unconscious manifestation of all of the stress of a year sort of draining out at the end of December.
I think that's probably the coolest like explanation for that.
I really believe that.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, our emotional state and our physical state are just so intertwined. And I think that, you know, we all work so hard now that by the end of the year, we have all this accumulated stuff and we get sick.
Yeah. Well, and like, I don't, that's like I don't know, that makes it so much more appreciative that you know what I mean? That like let it out in a way. Like,
I can either go out in the middle of the road and just start screaming, or I can have a sinus infection.
One seems a little bit more tamed. One seems like I can handle it a little better.
So how have you been? How has your year been?
It's been about the same. It's been pretty nonstop. Like, so it's been a lot of that, and just, you know, a lot of gigging and a lot of tracking. The same stuff you're doing.
Yeah, same stuff. You know, you and I are so lucky.
I agree.
We really are. You know, to get to do what we love at this capacity, at this stage in life is just golden.
And just even to know what it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just even know what the thing is you want to do. To be able to be like, I can grind my head against the wall about trying to figure out if this harmony track's right. Like, it's better than doing that to figure out what I want to do with my life.
Precisely. Yeah.
Was it, did did that come clear to you? Was music clear like that? Like this is what I'm gonna do, or was it like was it a nasal drip? Like did it slowly become the
Oh no,
obsession?
no, no,
Yeah,
man. I mean, from the moment I saw MTV for the first time,
yeah,
I think. Yeah, I wasn't sitting there watching when it aired that first night, when they aired with Video Killed the Radio Star,
right.
when that was the very first video MTV ever played.
Bold
I
statement.
mean, I wasn't there. I was 8,
Yeah,
but around that time, my aunt and uncle got cable, and my cousins were a bit older than me, and I mean, I just remember anytime I would go over there, we would just sit and watch MTV. And I knew, I mean, I don't know that I knew consciously at that time, but I knew that that was the sort of indicator to me. That was the first time I realized that there was a there out there, and all I knew is that I wanted to be there.
yeah,
So yeah, it was certainly, um, and there were some instances along the way where it was kind of like getting hit in the chest by a train that were reminders of, this is what I want to do. But yeah, I don't, there was never really a question for me.
yeah.
What about you?
It's
Was it the same way for you?
Yeah, it was kind of it was kind of the same. It was like I got the nasal thing too, so we're both gonna be
Mm.
we're both letting out all the stress. But yeah, it was kind of like I don't know, like it became from tinkering with the guitar, and like, just trying to figure it out, and like learning I could figure something out and had a way to like say a thing, and I was like, how
Mm.
do I keep doing this?
Hmm.
It became like a solving the puzzle or playing that game in a way where it wasn't like a like let's learn this piece or a serious thing, but it was just like little nuggets and like seeing how you can put those together. And like as far as like I grew up, but like my family just had blues around the house all the time, so that was easy to apply those puzzle pieces.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
but like I don't even like with video like after like learning some nuggets, that's when like the video aspect for me really they kind of build off what you're build off like the MTV aspect. Like after
Hmm.
understanding a little bit of it, like oh that's really cool, and like trying to get the bigger picture of how they're like expressing this tune that they're playing in like a double dimension. You know what I mean? Like now you're getting a visual and a sonic. So it's like
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
and like you know what I mean? And, like I don't know. It's interesting because you can see like either it's the personality of the people, like it's a Foo Fighters bit where it's just super silly. You know what I mean? And it's just like a goofy like look at this thing we're doing, or like you get like a fully encompassed like piece. And like trying to think of a good example that really like Pearl Jam had a bunch when I first started watching like music videos. Like Jeremy was like, "Whoa, this is a deep
Mm.
song." You know what I mean? Like maybe
I
deeper than I
remember
thought.
that. Yeah,
You know?
yeah, I remember that one. Yeah, yeah. I don't, I, I, I don't want to be rude, but how old are you?
I'm 30.
Oh, okay, okay. So I'm a little bit older than you, and so I would imagine that when when Pearl Jam kind of hit, you were, I don't know, how old were you? You
I
were
was I was younger. It wasn't like I was. This would be going back to it a little bit. You know?
okay. Yeah, yeah. Because I think they they were part of the what a lot of people refer to as the revolution of '91
Yeah. Yeah.
when Nirvana broke and all of a sudden everything changed. I would imagine, I think I was probably, I don't know, 17 when that happened. And I so if my calculations are correct, you might have been around the same age then that I was when MTV kind of started.
Right. Yeah. Okay. That would line. Like,
So if I'm correct in that, you were in that age where like we were like a sponge, and everything we experienced we just soaked up. It was like that for me, when in 1983 when Billy Idol was on MTV and
Right.
stuff. It's funny how at certain ages, whatever we experience really become imprinted on us.
Right.
And
Right.
I think, that age between, say, like 8 and 15, it's kind of a wide window, but whatever happens to us in that, man, that stuff, we can't shake that for the rest of our lives.
Right. Right. And
It's incredible.
yeah, and I mean, like body wise, it makes sense. You're going through a lot of changes, so you're grasping on something that isn't changing, or or that
Yeah, yeah.
guide you through those changes in a way, and like especially like it just that's kind of like when you go to a nostalgic place in a way. It's like whatever hit you in those years seems to like
Precisely.
really resonate. Like, and I think music taste is interesting because like when you play music you grasp onto things that like most people don't care about. You know what I mean? You're like Thelonious Monk is so cool, and everyone else in the world's like, sure. Like,
Well, whatever we're listening to when we're in the throes of puberty, that we can't ever get rid of that.
right,
That's
right,
with us forever,
yeah, and some,
Um, we can't.
yeah,
That's just who we are at that stage. So yeah, I guess Nirvana and Pearl Jam and all of those things. Maybe that was for you. I guess that was
yeah,
kind of the time that yeah.
yeah, around that, and like, so it's like those like later '90s things are really like well, and also like for me, it was kind of like understanding like what they were doing a little bit with the guitar and like really appreciating like how they're doing like how uniquely them it is and then like already kind of having that itch of wanting to put together those puzzle pieces like I want to write my own song.
Mm-hmm.
How do I make one sound
Yeah.
like how they're doing, and like but like so for me I guess the big thing is like seeing that it was fun to put together these puzzle pieces and say a thing, you know and
That's a
like
beautiful way to put it. Yeah.
and
Oh
then
yeah.
everything else like became like a way to like observe how they did that and like I think at that age I was like I had a really weird like if I can do one thing right I can stick with something harder, had a weird baby
Mm.
step approach for like if I can learn the intro to this tune maybe I can learn the rest of it, but like I think songwriting wise so I grasped on the stuff that I thought was like you really unique but kind of achievable.
Mm-hmm.
Like Kurt Cobain's chords aren't hard to play. To write a song like him was very
No,
hard to do, but I could play Teen Spirit. Like,
I was having a conversation with someone about this very recently
yeah,
about the night that Smells Like Teen Spirit aired on MTV's 120 Minutes when it aired for the very first time. It was 1991. And I used to record 120 minutes every
yeah,
Sunday night. That was, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I would
yeah,
stay up, and that was, I had my VCR, and and so every Sunday night I would record it. And that Sunday night, I've talked to other people who have had this same experience. Um, when they aired that video for the very first time, I was all alone in front of the television. And however long that song is, like let's say it's 3 minutes or whatever, within that 3 minutes, you knew everything just changed. Everything. And I'm not the only person that I know who felt that way. Like sitting there alone watching that air, you just knew. It was kind of like how my parents described seeing the Beatles on Ed Sullivan. So think about it. Like in that moment, hair metal was obliterated,
yeah,
right? All
right.
of all of the sort of 1980s stuff that had been leading up to it was now, I mean, no, I'll go ahead and say it. It was made irrelevant almost. And it ushered in, like, just everything changed within that 3 minutes. I remember, the next day, every like half hour or so, MTV would play that again, over and
Yeah.
over. It changed everything. Yeah, oh, yeah.
That's
That
well.
was that was incredible.
Is it like that? What was it? So that the aside from the like the knowing everything, it is different after this moment. Like the
Hmm.
witnessing something kind of so profound in a way, like or like something that kind of just stops everything. There's like that weird. What is this? What like I don't know what that feeling is. That weird when you observe this thing that's so impactful that you can't unpack it till like a third or second take. You know what I mean? Like, or like,
Dave, I don't know what it is, but
yeah,
I know that you and I talking about it right now.
yeah.
Literally, I have goosebumps talking about it.
Same. It's so
Isn't that
it
crazy?
is, but that's that.
It still has that impact. Here we are 30 some odd years later. It's still like the hair on my arms is standing on end right now thinking about that moment.
And like the experience it later. I think there's something so potent about certain pieces of art and certain expressions that they withstand time. Like I even now still have kids that come up and are like, "Do you know this guy?" And like, yeah, yeah, yeah. I've heard of Nirvana, or yeah, I've heard of Green Day. That's pretty cool.
Oh my God, I love it.
Me too. It's so awesome. Uh,
What's really funny now, this is what's interesting. The drummer and bassist in the Royal Electric Institute back in the 80s and early 90s, they were part of this great band called Das Damen. And Das Damen was on tour with Nirvana,
oh no way.
opening
Yeah.
opening for them every night when they broke.
So that just had to be crazy.
Yeah, yeah, I think it was. They were. I think for part of that tour, they told me that Kurt Cobain was riding in their van with them for some reason, as opposed to staying in the van with Nirvana. I don't know. I need to sit down and talk to them about that a little bit more. But I know that they were on tour with them when all of that happened,
that'd
and
be
they saw it. They saw it firsthand. Like all of a sudden, everything just exploded. It was crazy.
yeah. That'd be really interesting to go from like the expected shows, like, oh, we're playing with a band, they're doing well, we're gonna do okay, to being chum for the sharks that are coming out for now this
Oh
massive
my
wave
God.
of like, holy shit.
Yeah, I think they broke up soon after that.
That'd be a tough.
Yeah,
I mean, tough thing to like understand.
yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah. I mean,
even for Nirvana, like there's countless like takes on like how crazy that was, and you see that through the songwriting later. But that's fascinating. Like, I think maybe that explains like why they're so like why they're so tight and tame musically. Like there's a tightness, there's a professionalism that's witnessed the monster within your guys' music. Now I know why.
that's why they were in the cage with the lions and they escaped.
Oh, that's wild. That's what, but it's going all back to it, having like that thing, being willing to get in this van with this band that apparently blows up or like, and still doing it. I think most people would say like I was on Nirvana's like when Teen Spirit tour and can cap it with that. So that's incredible that not only like to have the will yourself, but to be around people that have that same drive.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm not going to put words in Lyle and Dave's mouths, but I think we all agree that we're just kind of having the time of our lives right now. It's great. What we're doing now is great because there's no, I don't really know any other way to say it other than we're at a point in our lives where we don't have to care if anyone likes what we're doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is really freeing. And subsequently, people seem to like it because we're not constantly trying to second guess, what have we got to do on this next record to make it successful? What have we got to do that's going to make it so that someone's going to want to, invite us to play this show, and all of that stuff that all of us worried about for so long, for so many years doing it. That's just not part of the equation anymore, and it frees it up to be so joyful. We have such a fun time together.
And that's people pick up on fun, and like it's weird. It's weird because it usually starts off like that. You start off not being critical and just be like, we're in it to do it, and then there's like a point within in that starting wave where you're like, well, how do we keep doing this? And that's when that second
Uh
guessing
huh.
like seeps in.
Yeah, especially when you're depending on it to pay rent.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's a whole nother. That's a
That's the
whole
part
nother
where,
thing. Yeah.
your success, it doesn't matter how good you are, your success depends on so many factors that are just completely out of your control. And that's really frightening, and you end up second guessing every aspect of it. It's and you know I don't know if you've had this experience, but for me, that got to the point where I was like, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
This is not what I signed up for.
Was it what kind of the jump from A and B? Was that point like multiple bands? What was that looking like?
At that time,
Yeah.
um, well, I had my main band at the time was called the Summer Wardrobe,
Yeah.
and we were an Austin group. We were together about 8 years, and we worked really hard, and we put out a few records on two different labels, and all of us were playing in other projects at the time as well, to for money or because we enjoyed the other projects we were in. But that was sort of our main thing, and we worked really hard. And they're just kind of you just as you often do, it just kind of hit a wall where I think I was in my mid 30s, and I just got really tired of being poor. And, like, I got really tired of just sort of the grind,
Yeah.
and that's kind of what did it for me. That's when I decided to leave music as a career path. And when I did that, it was like all of a sudden, all of the reasons that I loved playing music were just right there again.
Yeah. That
Because all of a sudden, I didn't have to worry about, oh God, am I going to get this gig? And if I do, am I going to be able to keep it? And all of those things that come along with having to pay bills, or you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, 110%. Like when you're playing a bar, that you're playing for a random collect group of people that comes in, like, or sorry, a random select group of people that happen to walk in, and like you don't know what they like. You know what I mean? Like there's no
Oh
way
yeah.
you can be equipped for every person. And like when it's a 4 hour set and all you're doing is trying to appease people that are like there to talk,
Oh God.
like
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
it's incredibly like taxing mentally, and like just to worry about, did the owner like it? Did they see people enjoyed it? Or and like like with with that type of gig, there's like people and that's like a select. I'm trying to go on the one I know everyone has to do that pays, right? The bar gig. Like, and that's
Uh-huh.
like that's a crapshoot, and like bars are a tough business already. So it's like you're depending on someone else who's depending on and it's all on the thing no one can depend on, which is people who are always different. And like
Yes. Absolutely. That, I mean, And before we go any further with this, I have to say, I would absolutely hate to have not had those experiences in my
Oh
life.
yeah, for
Those are
sure.
some of my best memories. Uh, Whatever we do shapes us into who we are now. Blah blah blah. So those are still some of my dearest friends. Um, but I mean, that band in particular, we had a few Southwest tours we did that were just brutal. My God, they were. One night we were scheduled to play on this one part. We were playing in El Paso, and man, I'll never forget this. Drive up to the place where we're playing, and we pull into the parking lot. We get out of the van, and the four of us walked into the venue, and nobody said a word.
Yeah.
We looked around, and on cue, all four of us just turned around and walked out to the van and left. We didn't even say a word to one another. It was like, yeah, we're not doing this. But oh my God, we had fun. Despite the struggle, despite working really hard to try to find that sort of commercial success, we still had.
Well, for sure. There's nothing like it's funny because like touring's like one of the hardest things, and you not never really the most successful thing for a long time, at least for people. You know what I mean? Like
Oh man,
touring's a deficit financially for sure, but it's like the thing everyone has this aching to do. You know what I mean? You want to hit the road with stuff. You want to go play this and somewhere else, and I think part of that is like when you're playing somewhere and the crowd has no debt to you in any way. They don't care that you're there, but you hear everyone get quiet and listen for a second. Like that will keep you going for another like 10 shitty shows. Like
it's beautiful, isn't it?
it is.
There are those instances where you you go somewhere to play, no one knows who you are, and there's a crowd there, and on those rare instances something will click, and all of a sudden you realize, to your surprise and to their surprise, that everybody in the room is like really digging what you're doing.
They're in it.
Those instances are solid gold.
Yeah.
They're rare, but they're solid gold. We're going on tour in February.
Yeah?
Yeah, we're doing an East Coast tour in February in support of the new record coming out.
Yeah, well,
And
are you hitting
go
Cleveland?
ahead.
Are you hitting Cleveland?
Man, I wish so bad we were coming to Cleveland. No, we're just going up the Eastern Seaboard to we're doing, I think, Boston, Portsmouth, Portland. I think we're doing Philadelphia, and then we're going down to, let's see, Washington, Chapel Hill. I can't remember all of the dates. I would love to come play in Cleveland. Oh my God, that would be so much fun.
Have that run lined up. That sounds amazing. That's like it's a
Well, here's how we do it.
yeah.
This kind of going back to what I was talking about earlier about how, at this stage in the game, how we're really in this for the enjoyment aspect. We book all of these dates, and prior to hitting the road, we go and we do research for every place that we're playing. We find a restaurant we want to go to.
Hey.
So we make it into a joyful food tour where we just happen to play that night. So for instance, if you're playing a show in Washington, D.C., you have to eat Ethiopian food because that's like the Ethiopian food capital of the country, right?
Okay.
And so if you're going to eat in Portland, Maine, you got to find somewhere that's, just a lobster fest. And then you just happen to be playing a show there that night.
I love it. Are you? Is it like through a week, or are you doing the weekend dash? Because the weekend dash would make that real fun.
We're doing weekend dashes.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Like extended weekend dashes.
Nice.
That way we can kind of
Regroup.
midweek we
Yeah.
can come home and do laundry and
Sleeping.
make sure our wives still like us and things like that.
But that's such like that's such a better way to do it. The weekend dash it and and have not only one thing to do is go there, wait to the gig. That makes everything about the whole experience so much better. And I don't think that's impossible to do before. I think financially maybe in question if you could be able to eat anywhere the next day after you drive there. But with that little bit of backing, that makes the whole experience so much more so much more amazing.
Oh yeah.
Like
Yeah, I mean, you're in your band and you have this thing booked, and when the primary thing on your mind is looking at the other guys and saying, "Oh my God, I can't wait to eat at Queen of Sheba on Friday," like that it's so much fun. But we're excited. We're excited to get to play, and I really like winter tours
yeah,
because so often people don't have a lot going on.
that's true.
People
That's true.
it's cold, they're a little stir crazy in their homes or whatever, and it's a good time to go out and hear some music
And
and have
also,
a good time.
right. And also, it's as far as booking wise, it's a little easier because most bands don't want to drive and fix a tire in the snow.
God, yeah. Oh
Like
yeah, it is.
from what I
It
from,
is.
but
Our the my musical partner Lyle Hysen, the drummer in the Royal Arctic Institute, he's the one who is responsible for booking all of these shows. He's done an amazing job. He's really worked hard on setting these dates up, and I mean, without him and being as hardworking and diligent as he is about it, none of this would happen. He's
that
great at that kind of stuff.
I need a Lyle in my life. That's so
Yeah,
hard to do.
everybody needs a Lyle Hysen in their lives. Lyle, everyone needs you.
Everyone needs you. That's for sure. And he's a drummer. He's even more needed now.
A really damn good drummer on top of
Well,
that.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
great.
Oh man, but yeah, because that booking aspect of everything is just another thing that makes that whole screaming into the void even it's depleting to try to put something together, and you try to do the months, the 3 to 6 months out, and you just go back and forth into the ether with nothing.
Yeah,
Countless
yeah.
no calls, countless no returns, and it's how do you? But it's once you start doing that and you meet people and they know you, then it's a different experience. As soon as you shake a
Hmm.
hand, it seems way more doable. But until that, it's no responses.
Yeah, we're lucky. We've got some good friends in these places. For a few weeks there, we were really kind of feeling bummed out because there was a Friday night that we couldn't find anything for, and the last thing you want is to have a Friday night off.
Yeah, yeah.
And uh, just last week, it finally came through. we got a show that night in Kingston, New York.
Nice.
Um, but you're right. A lot of it really depends on that network and the people that you know and that you can depend on. And we're really lucky. We've got some really wonderful friends in different places.
Yeah. Well,
You know.
and also the due diligence of attuning those emails properly to the venue and the you know what I mean. There's a whole like it's
Mm-hmm.
never just a plug and chug email. It's always slight. You got to really like just do the research to like hit what works with this market and like who do we fit with and like what's the bill, what are they looking for, what's this venue typically like there's so much that goes into that, so like that's bad. And
It's like trying to find a job.
yeah, every night.
It's horrible.
uh, and like not only like that, but like it's there's with 2020 with COVID and everything happened, like it made it so much more like there's more of that hump because now there's that back catalog of everyone who's trying to get their dates back
Oh
and like
yeah, yeah, yeah,
hit what they
yeah,
missed. And there's also
yeah.
like that kind of like, well, I don't know, is it gonna get canceled? Just say yes, it'll get canceled. Like
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's all of that. Boy, COVID was that changed everything,
yeah.
right?
It did.
I saw this really sort of hilarious meme that said anyone who ever said that one person can't change the world has obviously never eaten an undercooked bat. I got a kick out of that one.
Because it definitely did. Holy fuck.
So
Oh man.
let's hope that there are no new variants brewing that are going to change the world yet again.
Yeah.
God,
I
what did you do? What did you do during COVID? During 20? Let's just take 2020. How did you handle it?
I so I like buckled down. Like I took a week that first week because it was weird. We
Hmm.
played that week. Everything shut down. We that Sunday night we played in New York and drove back. Like you ever play
Mm,
Arlene's Grocery?
many times,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. We played
yeah,
Arlene's and drove back. And then that night, like I think it was that Thursday, they're like, "Hey, don't do anything." Like,
yeah.
so
Oh
I
yeah.
kind of like I took like a week, but then like I scheduled. I just made a routine, like wake up, uh, work out, learn this, work on that, learn this, write for an hour, and then once it gets to be like 4 p.m., do whatever. Like, so I
Mm-hmm.
routined myself into like a point where like when stuff went back to normal, I'm like, man, I'm wasting so much time. Like, but
Yeah, yeah.
for me, that really that structure and that like kind of always hacking away at something, just stuff I'm not good at, and like really kind of helped that time um, pass in a way. Like when the only thing left I wanted to do was go wait in a Starbucks line for like 30 minutes to get a cup of coffee through a window with gloves. You know what I mean? Like that was kind of like that was it. Like so for me that really helped. And then we also got me and a buddy of mine who runs a Studio 44 out in Lorraine, Elyria. It's not far from Cleveland, but we started streaming for the venues. So learning how that worked
Oh wow.
and like having
Wow.
that opportunity to kind of help really structured 2020 for me to be like this thing where I work all day on stuff I'm working on and we have these opportunities to help out, and we did a bunch of fundraisers for stuff. Like we did a fundraiser, like a streamed fundraiser for this art gallery. I work at this art gallery called Negative Space, and like we host artists every month, and we host bands every month, and like throughout the year, like throughout not just once, but like it's got like a full functioning stage, and like to keep that open, and like um, just to keep the venues like to have something in their pocket. So it really became like a cool like self work, and also became like a really unique kind of way to engage with community more so maybe than without it. So for
Mm,
me, it was a very rose tinted, structured experience. Like
okay.
it wasn't great,
Okay.
but I found a way to make it work for me. What did you do?
Oh
Because
man.
like it's such.
Oh well, it was there were a lot of aspects of it for me that were horrifying because at the time I was working in a hospital
Oh shit! Yeah.
and I was considered a quote unquote essential employee, and in my line of work, as you can imagine, things became very, very busy. Um, it was really hard. I was treating at the time. I think I treated four critical care nurses from the COVID unit. Um, One of them had bagged 18 bodies in one day, and yeah, yeah. They were falling apart, and I was in the outpatient mental health section of the hospital, and so we went to virtual therapy for people, and I mean within 2 weeks we were on I think it was like a 7 week wait for people to be able to see a therapist. There was just such a profound need. People were falling apart, understandably. And so I went from working, roughly 40 hours a week to about 55 or 60 because there was just such a need. There was a point where the office where I was working, the outpatient office, we were at 50% infection rate amongst the employees.
Fuck.
I never,
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I never got it. And which was, I kept telling all of my friends and family, well, look, it's just a matter of time. I'm going to get it.
Right.
I work in a hospital.
Yeah.
I'm going to get it. Don't worry about me. Uh, when I get it, I'll just walk down to the emergency room or whatever. I didn't get it until last year
Yeah.
when you and I
When we
spoke
were
for the
talking.
first time. Yeah. So I got really lucky, but so the band at that time, we we took, I guess, about 2 months off, and I guess around late May or early June that year, our rehearsal space is really big. We're very blessed. We have this really big sort of cavernous
Yeah.
rehearsal space. And so we decided to get together and just set up in opposite corners of this place. And, we all were masked.
Yeah.
And it was such a relief for us just to get out of our element and get back to doing what we love. And we wrote a record at that time. And
Yeah.
I think that September we went in and recorded a record. Um, so we were lucky in that we got to be really uh, really busy,
Right.
and we had that to sort of kind of pull us out of the nightmare that was life at that time.
And like, because I imagine like doing what you do, and like being with so many people during that period, right? And like that on your end had to be like just mentally, emotionally taxing, like because that's
Oh
I'm
man.
like I can't imagine like on that end, like because when people are going to you like there's already I'm trying to find the right word, when you're in a care position, when you care for others, you naturally which is, it speaks highly of anyone's character who does that type of job. You naturally give more, I feel like, than maybe you would for like in any of that situation, because it's so rewarding, and you can see it help somebody. And like, so there's already more than 100, you're doing 110%. But at that point when it's that overdriven, and like the there's always days where you're like, oh, I just need to talk to nobody and like drive home in silence. Like, but
Oh
during
yeah,
that
yeah,
time, I
yeah. I
can't
mean,
imagine how
look,
intense that
even
was.
even now,
Yeah.
when things are sort of back to normal, yeah, I mean, yeah, at the end of the day, oftentimes I don't have a lot left. But then back, my God, 2020, um, at the end of a workday, I would just come home and um, I think everyone at that time was watching The Tiger King. That was the big
Yeah. Oh
COVID
my God.
show.
Yeah.
So I would come home and I would sit in my chair and my cat would get up in my lap and we would watch Tiger King and I would just, think about how the horror that I was watching on
Yeah.
the screen really was just a representation of what was going on in the world. You're watching this train wreck
Yeah.
in front of you on a Netflix screen of this segment of the American population that I had no idea
Yeah.
existed until then. And
Yeah.
you're distracting yourself from something horrific by watching something horrific on a smaller scale.
While holding a version of that animal that can't murder you, like,
Right, right.
but chooses to snuggle.
So that's kind of how I dealt with it. And
Yeah.
the weekend would come around, and I would always have our Saturdays and Sundays at our rehearsal space to look forward to. So that helped me get through it a lot.
Yeah.
And here we are almost 3 years later. It seems like the world has, God, I don't know if I can even say this, but it seems like we've sort of hammered out a new version of normalcy,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
The COVID has, in a lot of ways, sort of become the new flu.
Yeah.
It's not going anywhere. It's always going to be with us. So, but I think people, kind of like you said, there is now this scrambling to make up for lost time. A lot of bands, a lot of artists are really creating a heyday for themselves in this attempt to play catch up.
Right. Oh, and just to be around that kind of like, this is it, it's over. The to kind
Mm-hmm.
of deal with mortality in a way, like that quickly to have like a second chance. You're like, okay, we're going full force. Everyone in the van, we're eating bread for the next 2 months. Like,
Yeah,
you know what I
yeah,
mean? Like,
yeah.
there's this, I think, a surge of it, but there's also that kind of like on the venues end of stuff. Like, yeah, everything's there's that kind of like, whoa, do we say? There's like this second guessing and like. But I think for the most part of it, the positively like being on the end of the streaming thing, like a lot of people got over that pretty quick. No one's I did one stream recently, and that was for a guy who a sound guy from the Grog Shop. His name's John Kaleman. He got in an accident and like hit his head super hard and was hospital bound. So it was basically only for him to see it, you know. Because he
Oh,
couldn't be
wow.
there. He was in California and we're in Ohio. But like, other than that, like I feel like not too many people are hankering for the streams. They want to be
I
in it.
think people
They
are,
want to
yeah,
be in it.
people are hankering for some human connection. And yeah, no, I hear you. You mentioned the Grog Shop. That place is still open?
Yeah, have you played there?
Years ago.
It made it. It made
Yeah.
it.
Wow. Oh, yeah, I remember liking that place a lot.
it's,
It was a long time ago.
it's still there. It's kicking. I forget. I think you guys did Mike Watt's the
The
radio show.
Pedro show. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're
He
doing it again.
yeah, sick.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
Mike's the best. He's the
He's
best.
such a sweetheart. He's such a sweetheart.
Did you say the P word to him? Did I tell you about this?
No.
Okay.
What on earth?
It took me it took
Do
me
tell.
it took me a long time to figure out, but like cuz I did an interview with him and I try to follow up with everyone the week of or as it comes out. Here's the podcast links and everything
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
flyer.
Right.
And like he
Right.
was like, "Oh, yeah, I don't use the P word." And like but like like you, like I'm like, what P word did I say? Did I say promotion? Was it? And I think it's podcast. I think he doesn't like podcast.
The Watt from Pedro show. Let me tell you, being on his show,
Yeah.
um, I didn't know what it was going to be like.
Yeah.
It was like being swept up in the middle of a tornado. It was awesome. We didn't know what it was going to be like, and he was so high energy and so fun. But it was just rapid fire questions,
Yeah.
and if you didn't answer immediately, he was all over you. He really kept us on our toes. It was fun.
He's got that radio timing. You know what I mean? You only have like
he does, yeah.
The 40 seconds, and we're queuing up the next song. Because we we did that once as well years ago. We did it probably like 2021. But years and years ago, Watt came to the grog shop, and me and my bass player followed him around Ohio. We just went to every one of his gigs, and he's like, we met him, and like, oh, it's such an honor, which it was because he was a big dude for us. And we gave him our CD, and he's like, I'll play it on my radio show. And we would tune in. And this is like in 2001, I think it was like in 2000 or 2001 or 3, somewhere around that. But either way, it was like 10 years ago. And he never did. And we were like, so to be able to do it, go on his radio show was like a dream accomplished. Like,
let me just as an aside, did you ever get to see him play live?
Yeah.
When it was his trio with Nels Cline? Nels Cline was his guitarist.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I don't think we saw Nels Cline.
Okay. That was about 20 years ago or so. That was a little over 20 years ago.
Which project that would be? Because like we just
I think it was this record that he made in the late 90s, this record about his father, I think.
Oh, that would be the first rock opera. Yeah, no, we missed that one. Didn't see that one. We saw him on this third rock opera. That's one that we followed him around.
Okay, because the first time I saw him was with Nels Cline playing guitar. And man, that was, whew,
right.
Good Lord.
There's something to that that jazzy punk, like, like that Coltrane influenced, like, I can't even think of a good word for craziness that Watt like kind of has that's so like intriguing. Like there's, you know what I mean? Like there's something that pulls the ear in, and like I don't know if that's the same guys that are like, I like Monk, like, or like I don't know if it's just a musician thing. I guess is what I'm saying. But there's something like that tonality that Watt brings in his music, or the people he collaborates to bring, that just draws the ear in.
I think what you're trying to say is that we could label Mike Watt as a national treasure.
Oh, 110%. That's for fucking sure.
Right?
Oh man, that dude's so cool. Like there's, but there's nothing that guy can't do that. And like
nothing he can't do.
And like, and I think just like how you said, to be able to bring, because he does those radio shows, he'll do like 3 of them a day, I feel, and like to do it at that same Watt level, like, and for as long as he's been doing it, that's huge. That's, and the fact that he tours the same route, and he would go like every year. You could catch Watt like at least once a year until 2020.
And if you look at his tour schedule,
it's relentless.
He doesn't have a day off.
Yeah,
there's not a day off in his schedule. It's incredible.
And those,
I don't know. I don't know how he does that one.
Those are the guys that
when do you do laundry? When do you do laundry if you don't have a day off on tour? I don't know. I don't know how he does it, man.
When you talk to him again, I'm gonna tune into that and see if he says.
I will. I'll ask him. I'll say, Mike, real quick before we have that 40-second thing, how do you do laundry when you don't have a day off on tour?
Laundry.
Oh my God.
That'll lead to the flannel stories. Like that's why I wear flannel.
Oh my God.
He's the best. He's so so fucking awesome. Um,
We haven't. I'm thoroughly enjoying myself talking to you. We haven't talked about our
I
new
know.
record.
I actually was about to ask you about because what's so cool about it is like it's the sequel to the first one. And
It
like
is, yeah.
so okay, so let's kind of go through the process of like this first one was recorded during 2020, right? So like the kind of
2021.
2021. Okay, but written.
Yeah.
Was it written during those practices, those Sunday Saturday practices, or is that the first record?
No, that was the first one.
Okay.
That was Sodium Light.
Okay.
And then the next one, From Catnap to Coma, came after that. And then this one is sort of the continuation of From Catnap to Coma. But it's very different, I
Yeah.
think. I
Yeah.
think it's a very different record.
One thing that stuck out to me, and like I think it's just like the level of your guys' musicianship is the amount of the like not the amount, how well tuned and defined dynamics are throughout this record.
Oh, wow.
Like that,
Thank you.
that's a huge element of music, and like the from track one and just listening through this, like going through this, the advance I got like multiple times. The one thing that stuck out to me that was maybe just a little bit more highlighted in this record than the last was just your guys' as a group dynamic ability to like just like because like all this was pretty much live recorded, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
like
there were a few. I went back in and did some pedal steel overdubs,
yeah.
but everything else was pretty much live. Yeah.
Like and that's such a like expressively that's such a huge skill, and like I think that's like one of the more advanced things to develop, and especially as a group, so to be able to pull that off where like it's completely at a quiet level then completely built back up in like a way that's so like smooth is a testament to you guys' musicianship, and I think really shines on this record.
Wow. Thank you. That is really nice. I'll share with you that this record was hard. It was
Yeah.
hard to make this record because we were racing against a clock. We had two things were happening. One, we had to get it done before Yola Tango left to go on tour
Right.
because but then the other part is that we had to get it done because our other guitarist, Lynn Wright, was moving out of the country.
Yeah.
We finished tracking, and 2 days later he moved to Germany.
Damn. What?
Yeah, so we were really racing against a clock. We there was an aspect of that was really stressful.
Yeah.
I mean, it was worthy. We enjoyed the process. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it was negative, but it was very different than the record that came before it. The process, at
Yeah.
least, but
Yeah.
just because we had this deadline we were working against.
And
I think it made us work a lot harder. It's
yeah.
great. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
interesting because like just wrapping my mind around like deadlines themselves already stress out what you have to do when you're waiting on stuff or you're trying to like fine tune a thing, but like it's someone moving and like the producer aiming because I know I saw they're playing at the Beachland and like I looked at their tour dates for Yola Tango and holy shit, like they're hustling like so on both those ends when like the guy who needs to hear everything and fine tune it and then the person playing it are now limited. To me that blows my mind after listening to this record so much and hearing how like it's how fluent it is. It's like breathing and like I don't hear that. I don't feel that stress. that stress. Like
Oh, good.
I can imagine it. I can really imagine it now that you tell me it. But like it does not come off like that. So like that's
Oh,
incredible.
good.
That's incredible knowing that little like inside baseball scoop. like
I'm so glad to know that. Well, hang on. Let me back up. Even if you could tell, I'm still really proud of it. It again, it was stressful, but ultimately we all walked away from it feeling like we had done something really good. It was bittersweet. It was really bittersweet because Lynn Wright was leaving.
Yeah. Why do you move to
Um,
Germany?
why didn't he move to Germany? Is more the question. Lynn has a very long-standing collaboration with a lot of people in Berlin.
Mm.
He's over the years he has gone back and forth between New York and Berlin, and an opportunity came up for him uh, to have this really beautiful apartment, and he got put on retainer to work for the soundtrack to a TV show, and
Nice.
it just
Yeah.
ended up all of these sort of forces came together, making it such that he couldn't not go.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
He's really happy. He's doing really well over there. It's really sad for me and
yeah.
for us because if you listen to this record, he is front and center on a lot of it. His musicality defines an awful lot of this record. And so now we are sort of learning how to do all of this stuff as a four piece. But more so on a personal level, it's really hard because he's one of my very best friends, just moved to Germany.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't get to hang out with him anymore. Lynn and I used to have just hour-long conversations about all aspects of life. And he and I have known one another since 1993.
Yeah.
And so it's been a big personal loss for me. I'm over the moon happy for Lynn, but I really miss him. We really miss him. It's
Yeah.
not the same. But he's coming back for this tour
Sick.
in February. Yeah. I didn't mention that part. He's coming back.
That's
So,
cool. But
yeah, we're all really looking forward to that. That'll be great.
yeah, it's cool like to have that reason to come back and like and to work on
Hmm.
stuff and like to send to go out and play in Germany. Like now you got a guy.
Yeah, we do.
um, but I totally like I have a friend who they like have his aspirations to move. Like occasionally they're like, I'm gonna move to Spain. I'm gonna move to Spain. I'm gonna work on this and do this. And like I'm like, yeah, you're hyped for them and you want them to do the best they want to do and grow. But then you're like, who am I gonna hang out with and go on like hour-long walks and just like shoot the shit about what we're trying to work on. I mean, like once you get a friend and a brother in arms and just a musician, especially when you play together, a bandmate, that's such a team effort, and you're so in it together always, and like
Oh, yeah.
just even to have
Yeah.
that reflection to bounce off and to celebrate the minor things. No one else gets how cool to go on how the Pedro show is unless they've been in it with you. Like
Hmm.
you share that with a bunch of people, and like, who's this guy? Oh, okay, that's
Hmm.
kind of cool.
Hmm.
Wait, the Stooges? He did stuff with that guy? Who are they again? Oh, they're kind of like the Ramones. I don't remember those guys either. But anyway, cool, good for you. It
Oh,
sounds like you
yeah.
enjoyed that. You know what I mean? That's like,
No, I do. I do. It's really hard when you're bonded with someone.
yeah,
I think, it's kind of like when you have bonded kittens.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like if you go to adopt a kitten
yeah.
and it's bonded to a sibling, you don't separate them.
No, unless you're
You
a
just don't.
monster.
Or unless one of them has an opportunity to move to Berlin.
Yeah.
Right? But yeah, no, you're absolutely right. You when you spend that much time creating with someone, and when it feels as effortless as it does, to have it to have it taken away, and I don't want to sound cliche or anything, but a piece of you is gone.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
I mean,
so like there's so many times with the friend I'm thinking of in particular, like they'll be like, "Hey, do you remember doing this and doing that? And like, remember that one show we played where you had to do this?" I'm like, "I don't remember that." But now I fucking do. Like now I clearly do.
Mm-hmm.
And like, part of that is part of you is gone when someone like who's been through that. There's only so much your brain withholds, and there's only so much that their brain withholds. So together you figure it out. But like, you know, it is gone when it's not there. Like,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's fun and horrifying to have to learn how to play these tunes as a four-piece.
yeah, yeah, like
You know?
yeah, yeah. As a musician, any challenge is like cool. Let me figure that out. But like,
Oh yeah.
but but when it's like, it's because, damn it, yeah. Like I get it. That sucks. It's cool that he's coming back for the tour.
Oh yeah, that's
And
awesome.
I like for the next record. Are you guys gonna send tracks? You think? Or are you going to or just see what you guys can come up with the spices that be? Um,
I don't know. I don't know. Um, God, I have no idea what we're gonna do. I mean, we've already started working on new material,
yes.
but I have no idea. I do know we were talking very recently how I think we're probably gonna wait for a while
Yeah.
before we do another record, and this next whatever we do next is probably gonna be a much longer full length,
Mm.
probably. I don't know. I mean, I say that now. Who
Yeah.
knows? But we're starting with new material.
I think
We'll
like
see.
it's cool to like have like uh this kind of A and B record you have now. I think like the two kind of like this kind of smaller like album to accompany that is kind of like the I don't know if it would be it'd be the sequel, or maybe the prologue in a way. I don't like, but like they kind of have that like tail end to it is a cool way to kind of go into something different. And like I think of that as like a writing aspect because like when you start writing for one project, there's a bunch of songs that don't kind of make the cut, but are still
Yeah,
sweet, and then there's some
yeah,
that
yeah.
should have. So to kind of be able to like funnel them into this like sequel is a really cool approach and keeps those ideas and those like that music. I don't know if like kind of like if you like if your process is like writing a bit and like bringing it to the band or if it's like a group effort, but like either way, if it's a group effort or like you just have it compiled, it's still cool. And like so this is a really cool way to like kind of shed that mode and unveil the next.
Hmm. No, I see what you mean. Uh, we what am I trying to say? Everything on both of those records is incredibly collaborative.
Mm.
Um, like on this new record, two of the pieces are originally brought in by Lynn, and we tore them apart and put them back together. And then there's another beautiful piece on there by bassist Dave Matamed, did the same thing. And whoever brings in an idea, it always ends up sounding different than it did when they brought it in.
Mm.
I think you and I talked about that last time, how
Yeah,
much
yeah,
fun
yeah.
that is. You write a piece of music or you write a theme, you write an idea, and you bring it to the band and they completely deconstruct it. And by the time you have a finished product, it's oftentimes very different than what you brought in. I love that. I love that whole process.
That's well, because and then everyone's spiritually, musically, and creatively attached to it now. You know what I mean? Before it was just Dave's idea, right? It's just a
Mm-hmm.
bass line. And a side note, the bass lines on this record are fucking awesome. They're super catchy. Like it kept
And
sticking out.
David Matamed, David Matamed is one of the very best bassists I have ever played with. That guy is a monster. Um, and he's he's such a sweet guy. He's so humble. And but I remember like uh, Mr. McNew, we were first talking about Dave, and he looked at me and said, your bassist has always been a monster. And it's true. But another thing about Dave is that he is just a master at arranging.
Mm.
Yeah, so much of the material that, I mean, well, all of the material on those records, Dave's really the mastermind behind the arranging in
Okay. That's
that. Yeah,
yeah.
he's a musical force to be reckoned with. And
He really.
if you meet him, if we ever come to if we ever come to Ohio to play, when you meet him, he is one of the sweetest, most unassuming, humble people you'd ever want to meet. And then he picks up the bass, and it's just like, oh my God, wow, that's where it is.
Well, I hope like or vice versa. Either we come to you guys, or or you guys come here. But like, yeah, just from our conversations, I can't imagine the crowd you hang with. It like wouldn't be up to par. Like, our conversations are always so much fun, and like just your personality, and like I can't imagine like you'd be around a curmudgeon in any way. But I can't.
Well, yeah, Bill Frisell said it best. He said, "At this stage in my life, I have no business playing music with someone that I would not want to have dinner with."
That's it. And that's why it's the dinner tour. No. That's
But you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. No, I know what you mean.
at this stage in my life, I am not going to spend time with someone that I don't like,
Right, right.
or who isn't a nice person.
And like that also like to kind of build off just the fun of making the music and making the music you guys want to make. Like I don't think you can do that with someone who's like how you said you wouldn't go to dinner with. You know what I mean? Like to have that like drive and passion for the music that you guys make, and like to make it authentic and not care that it doesn't matter to anyone except for us. That mentality
Hmm.
is like I feel like everyone starts with that, right? And then the whole money thing comes in, like we were saying before. But like to come back to it, you that has to be there. That shared joy of what the nuggets that inspire the Felonious monk. He's on my mind today. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
To be able to move and fully commit to that and totally get that bit are the same guys you're gonna hang out with and be like, "Have you heard this? No." You know what I mean? Like that's that's so
I
cool.
don't, have you ever been? I'm sure you've been in situations where you get hired to be in somebody's band, and one of the other people that is hired to be in that band is not nice.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know what I
that's the
mean?
best way to put it.
And
Yeah.
and and you have like a record to make with this person, or you have a string of shows that you have to play with this person. And when it's all over and the last show is done, you just walk away thinking, God, you're an asshole. I'd be so happy if I never saw you again, right?
Right.
I'm I'm never participating in that again in my life.
Yeah, it's not
That's over.
yeah, it's not needed. It's
It's
not
just
needed.
no.
It's not needed, and like if it's like one of those things when you like look at, am I getting musical skills out of this? Not as much. Am I getting money? I guess so. Am I like meeting people to like kind of like build my own thing with? No. You know what I mean? Like it's got to check more than just like the money bit. Like
Yeah, there are those three elements, right? And you
yeah.
have to have two out of the three.
Right. Right,
You
right.
have, one, you really love the music. Two, you really love the people. Three, it pays really well. If you
Yes.
have two of those, then it's worth it.
It's funny. Me and my drummer, he out of no, he drops these like awesome. Actually, I think it was Felonious Monk. No, it wasn't Monk. Yeah, it was Monk. Monk had like the list of 10 things to do to have a great performance, and they're just kind of like philosophical, like give it your all, don't do too much, support everyone else. Like as a drummer, like what are the 10 things to make this performance the best? And he just told me, he's like, yeah, I write this out every gig. And like I'm like, I didn't know you did that. We've played so many gigs together, and you scribe this like this list of 10 things, and like it was super inspiring. But that conversation led to that 2 out of 3, or the 3 out of 2, or 2 out of 3, the circle check that you just said. And like that just made me remember we just had that convo. He's like, I like the music and I like the people. Sometimes it pays. Like, I'm like, cool.
Yeah,
We're 2 point.
yeah, that's the best for me. I mean, if somebody wants to hand us a big wad of money, I'd be happy for us to take that and go make another record. But if not, that's okay too.
Was it with it on a to go back to the album as a question on this, conceptually, do you guys have a concept of how like it is the sequel to the record, or is it just kind of a musical concept?
It was a musical concept. It was also, um, it was a sequel in the sense that it was recorded exactly the same way as the first one,
Okay.
with James McNew in that studio. Uh, I mean, we all sat in the same exact places that we sat for the first one.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and in a lot of that music, even though it's quite different, I think that there are some kind of common themes in there. I
Yeah.
think it just felt, I don't know, I'm butchering this, but I guess what I'm trying to say is that it just felt like a natural continuation from what we had been doing. And so that's kind of how we came to that conclusion, I think.
Okay. Because like
I
you
don't know, does that make
no, that
sense?
totally makes sense. Because like when I was listening through, I went back to the first one a couple times, but like it's like that whole level of as a group, like just to be able to convey in this way, like expect like I'm going the dynamics to me like blew my mind going through it every time. So like it's definitely a continuation, but it's a tighter continuation. Because even before melodically and
Hmm.
how you guys phrase and play off each other and like travel to this like breathe and flow into this next movement, like everything is so like fluent and sounds everything sounds so uh like it sounds played with intent and played with emotion and like on the first record, and I think this is the next like evolution of that. And like and it's not just maybe individual parts that stick out to me as much, but more as a unit, which I think is like as a band that's what you're trying to go for. You're trying to become a tighter knit uh like unit, as a unit. Like, I don't a big conveyor of emotion as opposed to lines working together. And I think this is definitely highlighting those skills and that time put into it.
Dave, I think I have a crush on you. Man, thank you. That is so incredibly wonderful to hear. I'm so glad that it comes out that way. I'm so glad that it conveys that. Wow, that's really touching. Thank you.
Thank you,
I'm
man.
I'm really excited about this record. It I know when you had the experience where when you make a record, there comes a point in the record making process where you typically, by the time I'm about halfway through mixing a record, I don't ever want to hear it again.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah,
talking
I
about?
do.
You know how you get into
Yes.
that mode, and
You're like,
by the time it's by the time it's mixed and mastered, you're done.
you're right. Yeah.
Right? I don't ever want to listen to this damn thing again. I'm done. And then you come out of it. And I am just coming out of that. And I listened to it with fresh ears, um, just the other day and thought, okay, wow, I'm very proud of this.
That's awesome. That's and like that's the because you don't want to get to that spot and be like, I guess I could have turned up the bass. You know what I mean? Like You don't want to get there. You don't want to get, but like when you get to that point where it's just like, I'm happy with what we did, and this is what we did, and I wouldn't want it any other way, or I couldn't accept it any other way. I think that's
Mm-hmm.
success. When people are like, what's success? I think that's success, especially when it comes to recording music. Is that pride of not just of doing the absolute best for that situation and being like, I'm happy with it. You know what I mean? Like, doesn't matter if
Yeah.
anyone else hears it. I can move on. Like,
Yeah, exactly. I'm really excited to put this record out and just to get out playing live again. Ah, man, playing live has always been my favorite.
yeah,
I
yeah.
love playing shows. We don't have anything set up uh, right now until I think we have a show at the very beginning of February.
Okay.
So we've got some time off from playing live. I really miss it when we do.
Well,
So I'm looking forward to February.
I feel that we're not doing anything until March really. We're back in a band next week, but then we're not doing nothing in March. So it's like, um,
You guys want to come to New York?
yeah,
Let's talk about March or April
that'd be
when we're
sweet.
done with this. I would
Yeah,
love for us to play together.
let's do it. That'd be awesome. And then we'll return the favor after March. We'll do because we're planning a record release. So we're not trying to do anything until then. Here,
Okay.
um, in Ohio, but like Cody, my bass player, and I have been trying to like grind our skulls about getting out somewhere, and I just haven't. It's just like how we started this conversation. The nasal drip of just getting through the year has not let me go to the ether of sending emails to the abyss.
Oh
Like,
man, it's hard. It's like I've always been one of those types of people where I would rather be beaten with a stick than go to a job interview.
yeah,
It feels and it's like booking shows feels like going to a job interview. Nobody calls you
yeah,
back.
yeah.
It's hard.
So
But
like,
God, what a worthy thing to do, right?
right, for sure. Well, man, I always look forward to talking with you, and like
Oh,
I super appreciate the flexibility from last week to move into
oh, no
today. So
problem. I'm
I
so glad we got to do it. Yeah.
yeah, and
I
like
feel like I'm talking to an old friend.
likewise, and you know, I'll wrap it here.